There we go. Hello, everyone. It is Saturday night. We are here to talk about anime. Please let me exactly. Please let me know how all the audio works since we're back on the normal setup tonight. If any of you tuned in for Workshop Wednesday on Wednesday, you'll know that the laptop did not work in any way, shape, or form. We were getting single-digit frame per minute out of that.
Wow.
So yeah, okay, point proven. So that's fine. So we're back on the normal setup. I'm sure something will still happen tonight, but that's life. Hey, but Haggerty, no, this is not just the OVA. We're going to be looking at Tenchi Muyo in Love 1, the first Tenchi Muyo movie. They call it Tenchi Muyo in Love. There was a sequel called Tenchi Muyo in Love 2, but that's a whole other thing we'll get to later. So yeah, this is going to be hopefully very interesting.
Tenchi Muyo in
hey,
Love,
Omar.
Tenchi Muyo in Love 2, Tenchi Muyo gets a mortgage, Tenchi Muyo gets divorced, Tenchi Muyo pays for child support. There's a whole slew of films.
It's a long and involved.
All Tenchi Muyo.
All Tenchi.
All Tenchi.
All Tenchi
All time.
Exactly.
Hey, Omar, good to see you. Haven't seen you around in a while. Only watched the OVA and the universe enough to know those. Fair enough. Well, this will be fun then. So first off, before we get into kind of our experiences, Tenchi Muyo is a complex beast. It was the first harem anime.
Yeah.
There are multiple OVAs and TV series and movies, and there are multiple different timelines, multiple different stories. So when they do the TV series, there are whole new origins for the characters. New characters show up that don't show up in other media. So Tenchi Muyo in Love is technically TV series timeline, but also kind of refers back to some OVA things. So like it's kind of, if you've seen the OVA, it's also very much in line with the OVAs. It's complicated. I should also point out. Oh, go ahead, please.
No, I was just gonna say perhaps you should for Chatland just briefly describe the family dry tree.
Yeah.
All right.
And
Let me explain.
all the
the
related
exactly.
subfamily.
Yeah.
Dry family.
The reason we said that there's actually a whole gag about that in one of the Tenchi series where somebody asks the questions and was like, "Ugh," and pulls down a whole family tree and goes through all the little details. So it is worth mentioning, though. You're absolutely right. Tenchi is a science fantasy franchise, meaning there's science fiction, there's sort of fantastical elements. It's very kind of loosey-goosey with its realism, if you will. Tenchi himself is a seemingly ordinary Japanese high school student who is actually a descendant of the emperor of the known universe, basically, and has lots of crazy powers as a result of that. And this has made him a person of interest for various people. And so there are, of course, half a dozen cute girls who all live with him as a result of this, and all are all hangers-on on him. So very, very absurd kind of premise. But Tenchi, importantly, has a consistent sense of responsibility. It's kind of his defining attribute, is that he can be kind of goofy, he can be irresponsible, but ultimately, like if somebody's in trouble, he's going to go and he's going to help them. And that's kind of the thing that really defines him. And the other girls are all orbiting around that in various levels. And we'll see all of them. I should say, this is one of the movies that got me into anime. So I cannot be objective about this film, you know? There's certainly things about it that I'll sort of criticize, but it's a thing. So yeah, back in the day, this was one of the movies that aired on the Sci-Fi Channel that I just got really interested in, and it got me into the whole thing. So I'm very familiar with and very much in love with Tenchi Muyo in Love. Ha ha ha. So Steve, what's your experience with the Tenchi universe in general? And
The Tenchi universe. So
All of it.
All of it.
All of it, Steve.
Hang on, let me get my chart.
Your chart.
Yeah.
Flow chart.
No, so the my first experience with Tenchi Muyo was that I was going to refuse to watch it.
Oh.
And was aware of the movie on Sci-Fi Channel, but I didn't watch it. I was into other things. And when it came on to Adult Swim, initially I wasn't going to watch it, and I was just kind of like, all right, harem, whatever. I don't really get this, whatever. And then there was a piece of art that I saw in a store, hobby store, and it was a fan, and it was kind of leaning against the rocks where Ryoko comes from. And the art intrigued me. I was like, okay, well, I'll just give this a try. And it was very reminiscent, of course, of Grave with the Fireflies. And I was just like, oh, okay, so this might be something like that.
This might be
Thank
a
God
happy
it's not. God. So I watched it. So I watched the OVA that they put on there, and then I really liked it. And I watched, of course, the 26 episode series, Tenchi and Tokyo, all the stuff that came from Adult Swim, and I became a huge fan. And then I watched. Then I finally got around to watching Tenchi, Muyo, and Love. Watched it a couple times. Of course, watched it again before this, and I thought that I had. It's a fairly simple movie, so I thought I kind of knew everything about it, and then I actually watched the credits for the first time, and I found something new.
Ooh.
That later.
Okay.
It has to do with the music.
Yes. Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That's a thing.
Yeah.
John, how about you?
It's your fault.
I blame you.
I mean,
I'll take that
literally,
blame.
I like harem shows. So in the vast universe of them, there's a vast universe of them, and it was one of your panels that, and I don't know whether it was. I don't think it was in the panel. I think we were talking about afterwards, and you had mentioned Tenchi. So I went and watched War on Gemini.
Okay.
And then
Interesting
subsequently,
starting
you're like, that's not Tenchi, but it is Tenchi. It's a different thing. So I went and I watched the original 26 episodes. I was like, wow, how did I miss this? And then I've seen like bits and pieces, but I'm even lost in it. Like I don't know what OVAs I've seen of what where.
Yeah.
We've talked about this multiple times where Crunchyroll has a current Tenchi. It's not a filler, but it is. It's the flowchart.
I mean,
it literally is the flowchart because it's animating everybody sitting down and talking about the House of Jirai and all of the allied like sub families of the House of Jirai and all these people that are the heads of their respective constituent houses and who's cousin and who's what's daughter, son, that not having everything stitched together and watching it, I'm like, I'm confused. There's very little Tenchi and a lot of people sitting around drinking tea and talking. I'm like, I don't know what part of Tenchi is this.
It's like watching like a historical drama where everyone's sitting around going, so my father is descended from this duke over here. Oh, that's very interesting. And this is happening. Oh, well, wasn't your father involved in this battle? Yes, he was. And it's just all of this backstory. This stuff. Like, this might be fascinating, but I have no idea the context of any of this. Yeah,
and that was the latest. Beyond watching now Tenchi, Muyo, and Love, that was the latest bit that I had seen of Tenchi, where I was just like, "Geez, man, if you need this kind of like, and it's like a 5-episode OVA that just does nothing but backstory." So it's like that kind of gave me a warning that it's like I might be I must be somewhere lost in the Tenchi universe. That this is a thing that helps us to reorient ourselves to where we are. I'm like, oh boy.
Like the characters in this, you were almost sent off into time and space. And
infinitely.
I just totally
doing what I can with what I got.
Well, Tenchi in Love is a great intro to the Tenchi franchise. And it's really interesting to see where it starts. And we'll see if I can get a beginning here. First off, it's produced by. It has this very, very quiet opening. And then you find out, we lost the video again. I always love that. 1 second. Gotta reopen that. Doo-doo-doo.
Wouldn't be Saturday night if we didn't have some
exactly. Yep. Wow, it's completely lost it. Why is it? Huh, okay.
The video is lost in the Tenchi universe.
It pretty much. Alrighty. No problem. We'll get to it in a second. So the thing about this is that it starts very quiet, very serious, with just all this technology happening. And you don't really know what's happening. And it's kind of interesting, especially being a thing where, again, this is something that is, even if you're a Tenchi fan, you don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
Right.
It's just sci-fi stuff and things exploding. And then once you start seeing that happening, there we are. All right. So we just need to go in and re-grab that, and we should be good to go. Nope. There we go. And then you see just people being killed, basically, right and left, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah, not something you normally see in the Tenchi OVAs and stuff. It's usually kind of implied. Instead, you actually see the people in the hallway going, and then, the big white boom of death that goes across the screen, and people just sort of,
Yep. Definitely setting some stakes. This is, big deal stuff going on. And this giant ship gets destroyed. We then the first Tenchi characters we see is actually Keone and Mihoshi, which is kind of surprising. I should point out, I'm going to use character names here because, again, I've lived with these characters for 20 years. But the two Galaxy police detectives here, and we do get their personalities a little bit, where she's like, Keone, drop my cookie.
Yeah.
I was trying to figure out what's going on.
He is an unforgettable character.
Absolutely.
Oh my goodness.
And we'll get to her later.
There are points where you kind of want to forget.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there are points that make you wonder whether there's like some kind of special committee that was like, she's such a nice person. Maybe you should hire her. Even though she's just like a terrible police officer.
So actually, Tenchi GXP answers this question, and I will reveal it here. Mihoshi, especially her mother, has indescribably bad luck. Her luck is so bad that if the Galaxy Police are aware of the worst pirates ever, and they send out all their ships, Mihoshi will accidentally teleport into the middle of that fleet.
Oh.
Which is very useful.
Oh, geez.
Yeah. And so one of the reasons she stays there is that A, she doesn't explode things on a daily basis as she would if she was back in the regular world. But also interesting things happen because she's there. And she's always in the middle of it. So
yeah, that's a way to put it. Interesting way to harness that.
Yeah.
that amazing power.
And then we get Tenchi beginning to disappear. In this gorgeously animated sequence, by the way, of the feet and the hands starting to disappear. And
Digitized.
All hand animated, they had to move all those little bits. Crazy stuff.
Yeah.
And then we jump back to 1970. And it's interesting how, we talked about My Neighbor Totoro a couple weeks ago, and that being a very nostalgic anime. In 1970 is again a very nostalgic period, right at the tail end of the Japanese economic boom, the first economic boom post-war. Things are all sort of calm and relaxed, and we get this long scene, no dialogue, of just these characters coming in. And watching it now, I realize it's very Japanese, live-action film. Characters walking along, freeze frame of a character. You always expect the little, actor name to show up beneath it.
Toshiro Mifune.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And you get Mihoshi coming in, which
late.
really late. Which and again, if you're a Tenchi fan, you're like, Mihoshi's a teacher. Oh no!
That's exactly what I did. I'm like, what?
Worst.
And then poor Keone, her partner, who is the brains of the outfit, is a very competent police officer. What is she?
Oh, she's like the janitorial staff.
Here's the janitorial, and here's your safety protective goggle glass.
And her sweatsuit.
Yep.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And then Hoshi comes into her class. We get a very typical class, and then we get the characters coming in. And I do love this introduction. That Ayeka comes in, and we get a very typical intro to her. And again, of course, the video stops working for me. Gotta love it.
I love his sleeve protectors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess her
Yeah.
mentor teacher.
Yeah.
That they look like the old-fashioned like blotter sleeve protector
Those
things.
are-
You can write on with ink or pencil, and it will get on your nice white shirt.
Exactly. Yes. Very, very
Beautiful.
So that happens, and apparently I gotta find a new video thing. But then Ayeka and Ryoko come in, and I love the reaction of the class. As Ayeka comes in, very prim, proper, and I was like, oh, good. Ryoko comes in, bag slung over her shoulder, you know, smirk on her, and I was like, ew.
The entire class is just like, no.
We don't need
All
this.
she needed was the little clover piece.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, what are you looking at? Like, uh-oh, here comes the tough.
Yep.
Which I'll be honest, I love Ryoko.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, she's just
Ryoko forever.
for a crazy space pirate.
Mm-hmm.
She's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
No question. No, I'm definitely a Ryoko person. And then
I'll ship that all day.
Oh yeah. So, hello. Interesting. There we go. Just gotta resize it a little bit. And then we get Tenchi and Sasami hanging out at school, trying to blend in, not very well. Poor Tenchi.
Oh, the backgrounds were in the
Oh!
opening portion.
Oh,
the backgrounds were gorgeous.
Yeah.
I mean,
Tenchi Muyo has like the best background artist in the business.
Yeah.
It's nuts. You're absolutely
They
right.
put a lot of effort into what really, I mean, it's just purely setup. It's just all entirely set up, gives you the thematic point of you're like, okay, this is 1970s. Look at the pristine element of this,
Yeah.
X number of years ago.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, and look at these uniforms.
Yeah.
Right. Very classic uniforms. Also, something I appreciate about Tenchi, which is just kind of odd. Everybody has completely insane hair colors, classic anime hair colors. If they are characters like from the rest of the universe, everyone else has classic Japanese hair. The
Right.
dark brown, black, which is kind of interesting. And then we transition to the film of them watching Achika. It should be pointed out, at this point in the real world, we knew nothing about Tenchi's mother.
Yeah.
The OVA tells us that Tenchi's mother died when he was young. I forget if it's the OVA or the TV series that actually has an image of Tenchi crying in the snow. It's a very iconic image.
See, it's the OVA.
It's the OVA, okay,
and,
yeah.
And I think it's the OVA that has Ryoko ripping the kimono, his mother's kimono.
Oh, yes. I think you're right.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, that one I don't know.
Yep. And so up until this point, all we know is that Tenchi's mother was this kindly woman who died. That's it.
Yeah.
So we get to see his mother all of a sudden. And I love this framing device of watching film of his mother to kind of get everyone up to speed as to who this character is. And again, you also get all the personalities, Ayeka's kind of angling, Ryoko's making fun of Ayeka, Sasami is just, she seems so nice. And then we get the big sci-fi bit of Tenchi disappearing. And I do think it's hilarious that every time this happens, he gets slammed up against a wall.
Like this mobile catch net.
Yeah.
And it should be pointed out, Tenchi Moyo translates literally to no need for Tenchi, which you may have seen in the various titles. And so it's kind of the joke here is that Tenchi's useless throughout this entire movie until the very end. He's kind of the problem. He can't be the solution. And we get this wonderful, ridiculous sci-fi BS thing of Tenchi's mother being erased in the past, and so they have to travel back in time to rescue his mother. It's just completely silly.
Because
I love
but you got-
Washu's machine to do this too. And
Yes!
everybody's like gonna
because
throw up.
everything can be solved. All plot points, all plot weirdness, everything like that can be explained very succinctly with one character.
Yep.
Little Washu.
Exactly.
Little Washu all just has to do is goes, oh, I reinvigorated the time vortex and plasma rifle to shortchange the blah 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 the blah blah, and everyone's just like, very good, Washu. That makes perfect sense. Thank you.
Which case, if you're able to do this on the fly like this, why didn't you prevent the thing that happened
Well,
that led to this thing that happened? Like, hey, wait a minute.
I also, and again, it's one of those things. And Tenchi's always been good at kind of editing and revelation of stuff over time. But I do just really enjoy how we see all the characters going by, and Ryoko's going, come on, Washu, just get this over with, and Eika's going, well, I guess we'll do it. We'll do what we can, and let's see here. Tenchi is going, I'm really sorry you're all involved in all of this. So somebody's going, I'm gonna hurl!
Oh.
And Mahoshi's just...
Yeah, big line of troll coming out.
it's just, yep.
And wouldn't you love to be on that side of the ride?
I know.
Why?
That's why you need spit guards.
Mm.
or maybe a splash shield.
There we go. And yeah, absolutely, Kamen Rider Rise is very Back to the Future, right? It's basically that concept. Gotta rescue the parents. And you get... Oh, I should mention this little joke. So, actually, double joke. Mihoshi is trying to teach, and she's explaining this Earth story about the triangular relationship between the warrior, the princess, and the demon.
Yeah.
Tenchi, Ayaka, Ryoko.
Ryoko.
You know.
Yeah.
But also, there is an episode of Tenchi Universe, if I recall correctly, where Mihoshi has to go undercover as a teacher.
Yep.
And the only line you hear in that episode is her up there going, and this story is about the triangular relationship between the warrior, the princess, and the demon. Sure enough, it's the only story she actually knows.
Well, she said that in this. It's like, the teacher, you already told us about this one. She's like, but it's the only one I know.
Keone's perfect line, that idiot. And we get stuff between Ryoko and Ayaka, and the beginning of the story with the the operative, right? The spy in the room. And I think they do a really good job with this because it's easy to overemphasize a character like this to give things away, but because he's just there, and he just kind of walks around a little bit. He does. You don't see him planting evidence or anything. He's just there. It keeps him a nice mystery.
Well, when you see the movie for the first time and Kane escapes the villain,
Yeah.
he escapes. It's the whole no mask concept as he goes out, but you see the eyes, and when in anime the eyes are always thin, and so you see the operative in the classroom, and you're just like, it's going to be these two. Okay,
Is it Kane? Is he Kane in the
form? And then, which begs the question is, why isn't he acting? He's right there.
Yeah.
Why isn't he doing anything until you figure out? Ryoko finally figures it out.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then you get to one of the worst pieces of animation I've ever seen in my life.
Which is?
The hand. The proportions. So when the operative actually sticks his hand into Ryoko's back, and the entire conversation, and he jumps. If you look at his hand, and everything's out of proportion.
Oh,
He's standing on everything's out of proportion. His body it's kind of like this weird acid trip kind of.
I think I know the animator who's involved in this, and he's known for doing very sketchy what's the right term for it?
Because you see it off and on during the
Yeah.
whole movie. Like the whole scene where Mihoshi's looking for Keone under the bed. And,
Yeah, they definitely have different animators working on different parts. No question there. And so we get other bits.
And that scene where you have Tenchi in the bushes looking to see his mother. Am I the only one that got like a weird vibe when he gets a little bling, little blush, and I'm like, do you think your mom's pretty, Tenchi? Like, why are you blushing, buddy?
Nah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It was a little weird. I'm
Yeah.
like, that's an odd reaction.
No.
Oh, mommy. Oh.
Well, also it should be pointed out, because Tenchi's mother passed, so far in his past, relatively speaking, he doesn't really remember her very well. So seeing her, in the flesh, would definitely just be a really odd experience, I think.
Yeah.
And he's kind of reacting to that, I think. And so again, just more bits and pieces. And again, this is one of those scenes that just really caught me when I watched it the first time. When Tenchi collapses and they have to go and try and find Achika, and we see them running around doing stuff. And I'll see if I can find. Here we go. Aika goes running, and oops, there we go. Aika goes running. Come on, video player. Sorry. Wow. Can I say it was fine until like half an hour ago?
It's just overexcited at how good Tenchi is,
Clearly.
and it can't bear it.
Clearly.
And I love Sasami's backpack with the portable net.
Yeah.
Just hook it up and glue Tenchi in the air.
There we go.
In the equipment shed. Like, wait.
Whatever works,
That's not uncomfortable or unusual.
No.
That's fine.
Exactly.
It's okay. And I love her use of baseball signs. During when she's telling the others, like, or Tenchi in particular, like it's okay to come out. She's actually using third base.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
I was trying to figure out which team was on her hat, but I couldn't figure it out. I've
Mm.
never been able to figure it out.
That's cool. And I noticed that at all. And so we got our first like real big romantic scene, for lack of a better term, between Achika and Nobuyuki. And folks mentioning in the chat, lest we forget, Tenchi's father Nobuyuki is this pretty giant perv in the
I was going to say
later on.
Oh my god! So when I watched this movie for the first time after watching the OVA, and all I know is like you see this like really wholesome kind of kid drawing, and he's kind of a little geekish, and but he's totally relatable, right? And he's into gadgets and things, and okay, cool. But then in the back of my head, I'm remembering from like the OVA where Ryoko's in Tenchi's bed for the first time in the OVA, and his father's got the freaking VHS camera going, "Oh, my beautiful wife, I'm going to record Tenchi becoming a man." And you're just like, "Oh, no."
Yeah. This is not the way we want to do this.
No. Yeah.
So you kind of wonder how, not trying not to be funny here, but how broke he got after his wife died, because it is a totally different guy.
It's true.
Nobuyuki is a totally different guy. He's pretty heroic, actually.
And we see him after Tenchi's born later on, and he's much closer to what he is now physically, but there's none of that in his personality.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah. But a sweet scene, definitely, between the two of them. I also like, and this literally brought tears to my eyes, if I recall correctly from the organization of everything, Achika recommends adding a window to the house.
Yes.
That is the window in Tenchi's room.
Oh.
Yeah. Because they show before and after, and I'm like, I think that's Tenchi's room, where that window goes in. I'm like, that's sweet.
And the internet goes, "Oh."
Yeah, exactly. Come on.
Well, and for a romance, it was treated very sweetly, because it didn't.
Yeah.
There wasn't. I mean, there was no like real sort of pre-information to it, and it just sort of cruising along as this little bit of a friendship and then just sort of goes somewhere. It's like you
It
guys
was
didn't have a lot of time to deal with this in a film.
Right. Yes.
Right.
And you didn't rush it. You didn't just jam them together. Then the crew shows up and they're like, "We got to save them," and then on to Galactic Space Battle. You know what I mean? It's like they actually took the time to sort of let it kind of happen and then go off and see how the gang's doing, what's going on with their lives. And then you come back to it bit by bit as you see that little bit of smoke develop into a little bit of a flame and then move on from there. And it's like, oh, that was sweetly done for the time that they had to do it in.
Absolutely. Again, just a lot of care obviously went into the film. And so you get they're going to go on the school field trip. I love the addition of the Beatles poster in Nobuyuki's room. Absolutely the kind of thing you would see in a teenage boy's room in 1970. And then, of course, Kione getting transported back to Washu's in the bath, which and again, Tenchi Muyo invented the bathhouse scene. Like they started that whole thing. So
Oh, wow.
yes, so this is very much in tune with Tenchi's overall kind of mood of okay, we're going to show this kind of ridiculousness. And then we learn more about Kane. And again, getting back to that point, I think what's clever about the scene is that idea of rising or falling tension. We start with comedy and end with drama. We start with this very goofy bit, and then we build up to revealing that Kane is this thing, while also having some slight humor. I noticed this time around, they're listing off Kane's rap sheet, and it's wanted for destruction of planets and suspected murder.
Right. Because one is
Kane destroyed 13 planets and 275,000 ships.
Possible murder.
But he may have murdered Old Man Carruthers in the gas station.
Yeah. He
So-
tripped an old lady and took her purse. Oh man. The planets I could have left alone, but no.
No. So then they go off, and then we get a sequence which, again, and this is one of the interesting things about anime in general, I think, is that this sequence where Ayaka and Ryoko face off on the train has a much more cartoony feel than the rest of the sequences, which I think is very appropriate to the scene. They're having this, argument, and they're fighting each other, and it just escalates and escalates and escalates. And it's the kind of thing that just doesn't. I think in a more modern anime, they would try to make it more consistent, but I think this just amps up the ridiculousness of the situation to the point where they literally, blow out the electrical system on the train.
Yeah.
And I love how everyone just kind of sort of justifies it and doesn't think anything's wrong with these two.
Yeah, there's not like a super panic.
Exchanging electricity, and it's just like like strobe lights and just anger and just all this happening, and then afterwards trying to there's an apology from the conductor. Sorry for things
Yeah.
in here, even though we had these two weird alien chicks trying to blow up the train. And everyone's just like going, "Oh, it's okay."
That happened all the
Fever
time in the
dream.
70s.
It was
Yeah.
a fever dream. It's okay. It's okay.
I like the fact that Ega had from the Tenchi, whatever, one of the billions I watched. They had a couple of guardians stationed out front of the house that are these wooden pillar things that are drones, or I don't even know what they were.
Oh, they have names.
But you have Aika show up in the train, and all of a sudden she and Ryoko are getting ready to go at it. You see all these little, little pillars show up, and I'm like, oh, crap!
Now
gonna
that
happen.
alone right there, if
Here we go.
If I was on the train and that alone happened, I would just be like going, I am just going to crawl. I know I'm big, but I'm going to crawl underneath this seat because I don't want to know what else is happening.
I'm gonna hit the conductor I need help button.
Yeah.
help.
By the way, Azaka and Kamadake.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm a huge Tenchi nerd. Apologies. They go to Tokyo Station, beautifully rendered Tokyo Station.
Yeah.
They all get ready for the big day. With Kione as conductress. Poor Kione.
She just fills in for everything.
Never gets a break. And here we get a lovely sort of back reference to our own movie, where we discover the moment when Achika disappears, she's actually talking to Ayeka and Ryoko. And it's this conversation they're having where they're kind of, messing with Achika and Nobuyuki. And again, sweet scene, like you say. You're getting a sense of those characters a little bit more, and really building it up.
With Nobuyuki with his Super 8.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nobuyuki, say something. He's just creepily.
Yeah, just
yeah.
Which, I mean, Super 8s had no sound ability, or
True.
did they?
Nope.
No sound.
As I say, because that would have been, at the time, that would have been where you'd have the Super 8 and you'd literally have a reel-to-reel on your side with a microphone,
mic.
where you'd kind of
mic,
hold the two and try and catch your sound at the same time.
Yeah. And then we get the first chase of the operative.
Right.
Exactly. Oh.
And nobody notices the strange blue-haired woman flying.
Yes.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, that's
Or either that, or
that's
it's just
normal.
like they just see over the Imperial Gardens a blue-haired.
Yeah.
Yeah. Couldn't possibly.
It was an android kid last week with.
Right. Exactly.
Mecha Godzilla came through a while ago. So
Whatever. And so then they go to a temple. Remember me showing you the photos of the temple?
yes.
Yeah.
And it turns out.
That's that.
And the branches, the sakura branches that you had in the photo are in. I'm like,
Yeah,
oh,
it's like,
my goodness.
And so this is Sennoji Temple, which is a one of the big tourist attraction temples in Japan. It's one of the reasons in the film is they're going to all the classic spots. Tokyo Tower, Sennoji Temple. I happened to go there when I was in Japan by pure luck. And all the way down are all these stalls, and so they're all buying food and tchotchkes and such at the stalls. Whereupon we get this sequence between Ryoko and the operative. And it's an important scene because it does fill us in on Kane's motivations. That he hates the lineage of Jirai and is trying to kill that off directly. And like I said, in the anime series Noein, To Another World, was the fight scenes in that I think are animated by the same guy who animates this fight. Because he has this very sort of how to put it, this style. it's kind of simplistic but also kinetic. That's the word I'm thinking of.
Right.
Lots of movement and such going on, and a lot of characters interacting.
So it kind of
those.
dumbs down the high frame rate or
Well-
quality of frame rate for the kinetic action.
Exactly. Yeah. So individual frames look wonky, but the actual movement
Movement's good.
Is
Okay,
nuts,
yeah.
is nuts.
They did
Okay, I
that
gotcha.
for. Did he also do that Fooly Cooly episode?
He might have.
Yeah.
The other thing was in Naruto, which I think
Yeah.
he did as well, where
Yeah.
it's and then and again, there's a guy jumping on top of the whatever. Who cares? I will say again, having been here, luckily, the back of the temple is deserted. Like there's nobody there, weirdly. So it is like a reasonable spot where you could just have a giant explosive energy battle, I
Fight.
guess.
Okay.
And no one would immediately notice. There wouldn't necessarily be anyone like right there. But anyway.
There'd be people going, "Wow, that's so cool! Let's get our fortune, the lucky fortune. See what we did. do you have the greatest luck or the worst luck? Don't you want to watch the fight?
Probably space pirates again.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, Japan, you've been through so much.
exactly. We get a little Tron moment here when Keone is brought back.
Yeah.
He's like, out of nowhere, just okay, we're gonna do a Doctor Who sequence, opening credit sequence for some reason, where Keone comes back with this stuff.
Thanks. Now I have the Doctor Who intro in my head playing in the background. Yeah.
And we get one of the more important scenes, one of the more important moments in the movie, because this again kind of establishes Tenchi's character. He refuses to be helped at this moment. He's about to disappear, and he's like, "No, if I can't handle this pain, I can't help Mother." and that's it. You know, he will soldier through this to do the right thing. And so moving on, we get to the day where they have to do the various temples, and again, the 5 Fudo temples, classic Japanese things. So we're gonna do this whole thing. So we're gonna see all the classic moments.
The highlight reel of Japanese.
Yeah,
temples.
exactly right. You know,
Sweet.
Mm-hmm. You've now you don't have to go. I also got to say, Red Fudo. So this is where you realize how ridiculous this is. Again, much as I love it, Tenchi can't get anywhere near his mother in case of time paradox.
Yeah.
What does he do?
And so he just does it and it's fine. You know, all right, I guess that didn't matter at all. But that's fine.
Well, it's not exactly like, I mean, and you can understand it, I guess, if he walked up and said, "Hi, you're my mother." And
Sure.
then it'd be like, "What?" And then, maybe. But other than that, a vague similarity to the both of them, he's another kid.
Yeah.
And he's dressed weird, so it's a little odd, but,
The other side of that coin, though, is they are both Jirai. So they do have, mystical powers, which could cause them to connect, which I guess is the...
Well, doesn't she say that she picked up on that?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, she says Tenchi at one point. She's
Yeah.
not been introduced to him. She's like, Tenchi. I'm
Yeah.
like, uh-oh.
Yep, it's working
But the
there.
world did not end
The world did not end.
because of that.
I should also point out, this could not have been all that easy to make, because they have to show you Tokyo Tower as of 1970. Right? So, I'm sure this elevator doesn't look the same. It didn't look the same in 1995 when they were drawing this. So they had to go back and find references for how all this looked 25 years earlier. So imagine all that work. Again, I'm sure these uniforms for the ladies working there have changed. So a lot of work there.
Well, that means junk shop diving. Because I'm sure in whatever year there's probably a souvenir booklet that has highlight pictures of various things.
Oh yeah.
So as long as you can find somewhere like 70s to 75, maybe you could get a picture book postcard souvenir thing. You probably could glean it out of that.
Yeah, probably. You're right. Kane attacks. Operative does not have a good time.
Oh no, he has a joyful riot of time.
Yeah.
It just ends badly, that's all.
It's true. And very badly.
Well, I mean, it's tough when you're fighting a supervillain and you're in unarmed combat. Sorry.
There you go. And again, I do appreciate the fact that we've seen this operative. And he's like, "I'm going to take on Kane," and you're like, "How are you going to do that? Like, really, dude? How are you going to do that?" And you find out, it's not going to work at all. Like, sure enough, like that was dumb.
He's very heroic.
Just
kind of not very, very well planned heroic.
Right. Well, I mean, his whole entire existence in this movie is literally just to give Kane 2 seconds of pause before wiping out the elevator. And because otherwise, I mean, here's a being that we learned that it took the Emperor of Jirai to contain him, and it killed the resulting victory, killed the Emperor of Jirai.
Yeah.
And all this stuff. So he's going to take on Kane with a handgun.
Cool handgun.
Power of friendship.
Yeah.
Power of friendship.
We could be best buds.
My sense of justice will prevail.
Well,
Yeah.
I might be cut in half, but it'll be okay.
Yeah, the presentation of what's left of him is kind of like,
Yeah. Oh,
oh,
totally.
wow.
But-
Didn't expect that part.
But did
Yeah.
you see Tenchi's parents or you guys kids are just like, oh my god, and Tenchi's just like,
Yeah. Like, oh darn, this kind of thing happening.
I see this a lot.
Yeah, I was going to say, Tenchi's not had it easy.
There's a great sequence in OVA 3 where a bunch of bandits show up at Tenchi's house to take it over, and the entire crew is like,
Yeah.
all right, let's do this again. It's like,
You know what? Just
another
occurred to
Tuesday.
me? You know what just occurred to me? Maybe he's looking at the operative who's basically torn in half and going, I know how that feels.
That It could be. I sympathize with your friend. I know
Exactly.
that pain.
Yeah.
I've had that happen.
Mm-hmm.
I recovered. Sorry.
Yeah.
I
true.
got better.
No, true. Like quite literally.
It turned me into a newt, but I got better.
Yeah. And we get our big face-off with Tenchi and everything else. And then we get a little moment. And
What
I'm
is the
afraid this
Tenchi lightsaber, by the way?
the Lighthawk sword.
Lighthawk, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen it in the series, but it's like I don't know what the background to that is.
It is an artifact that his grandfather Yosho brought with him from Jirai.
Okay.
That he used in OVA continuity fighting Ryoko. And locked her away. And then he is kept on Earth. And so Tenchi, when he touches the sword, he can actually resonate with it and he can actually activate it. Because he has dry blood in him. Other people, it's just a handle, it's a hilt.
And determining on like how powerful you are in Jirai determines like how much of the Lighthawk you can actually use, like how many panels.
Right,
or if
like
you
when
can
his
create a
mother
ship out
picks
of-
it up and it's like
and she turns into like a
two-story tall sword. Like,
well, he turned that into a Nagata, and just went to town on Kane with that. I was just like going, I just reflected on that the other night when I was watching. I was just like, oh my god, yeah, that's right. Yeah, women would have been trained on that type of weapon. That's why it transmorphed into instead of a sword.
Yep.
Nagata, to that, and she just whooped his ass.
Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
Sliced and diced.
Captain Laser Eyes, he does have his Lighthawk wings. The problem is that Tenchi does not know how to control them yet. At this point in the continuity, as far as I know, it's a thing that he can...
It happens, but it's like the sword actually guides him through it, I think.
Yeah. But Achika, stands up to Kane briefly, and we see a little bit, and again, it's one of those great little, we're going to see more of that later on. But I like that she's like, no, this stops. And we see, oh, that's right, she's a daughter, like she has power, like she could do something here. And then we get this moment, and again, you're watching the movie, and you're like, okay, this is the climax. Okay, they did it. They're going to take care of Kane, he's going to get sucked in, cool, awesome. Nope.
Yeah.
Well, technically, yes, he does get sucked in. As do Aichika and Nobuyuki, and they're trapped in with him. And what a wonderful twist to make the successful solution backfire.
Yeah. Well, when she got grabbed, I thought for a second it was going to be like Tenchi was going to come up and cut the lines, and you'd see Kane drift off screaming into null space, and that'd be it. But it's just like, and is it just she's getting pulled in? I'm like, no.
Yeah.
Now this is gonna like
Pull
the hole
harder?
will close up.
Pull harder?
Or the hole will close up and it'll break the line, and that'll be. Then like, I'm like, oh no, really?
Yeah.
And that's the moment that you look at the time counter and go, oh crap, there's a whole nother 15 minutes.
I thought I was at the end. Nope, apparently not.
Nope. And I want to put a lot of. I want to mention the voice acting here. I grew up with the English dub. I'm used to the English dub. I've actually tried listening to the Japanese dub, and it just sounds weird to me. So I just, that's not their voices. But I really appreciate the voice acting here. Tenchi's like broken, and like even Ryoko is just like, Tenchi, no, just stop. There's nothing you can do, and she's broken too. Like she's really hurting for Tenchi in this moment, and you really feel it. You feel the desperation here, as they're just stuck. And they're like, what on earth do we do at this point? And I love that the movie pauses and gives us this time to really reflect on where we are. Again, a lot of other movies which keep on pushing, especially Hollywood movies. But this gives us that space to really feel it. And
for Bashu to figure out how to get them in there too.
With again, ridiculous sci-fi nonsense. We're going to triangulate on Achika's brainwaves, and so Ryoko can teleport.
And then we're going to bring in this ginormous mega cannon that's supposed to take out galaxies, and we're going to at this one little building in Tokyo.
Yeah.
All will be fine.
Pretty sure there's an international or interplanetary convention about bringing mass destructive weapons, like a giant cannon, park it in the middle of a human city. I don't know.
In fairness, Washu is aware of these regulations and completely ignores them.
Yeah. Like messing with space time.
I'm little Horseshoe.
There is a giant crater lake on, I think it's planet Jirai, that is many, many dozens of miles wide. It's a result of a massive experimental mistake known as Washu's crater.
Nice.
Yeah. But it's worth it because we get this awesome transformation sequence where their little bands like separate and glow over their bodies. Yeah. This never happens any other time in Tenchi, as far as I know. It is just unique for this one moment. It's never mentioned before. It never happens after. But it is absolutely awesome as they transform into their battle outfits and get all the things that they need.
I thought it was a really neat effect, and I certainly hadn't recalled it before, so I'm glad to know it wasn't. I just missed it. So.
Yeah, no. They don't even, and they all have like these little gold bands or like a thing. You notice like, oh, that's where it's coming from. They didn't set it up. There's probably like a cut scene from the storyboard where they explained all this, and like, I don't have time. I don't know.
Yeah, we're on a budget and time scale here. We gotta go. Did you see the question from Wesley about Kane being the same race as Zerum? I don't know what that is.
Oh, let's see here. That's interesting. Wesley, as far as I know, Zerum is not does not cross over world-wise. Zerum is from Iria. Zerum, actually, that right there, which is a anime and a live-action sci-fi universe. And you're absolutely right. There is Zerum has like no face in the middle of his body, and so you're absolutely right that there's a connection there. I suspect it's more that they're similar to No Masks, and so they're both drawing from the same kind of cultural, source in different universes. You're right. It is interesting.
Like No Face from Spirited Away.
Right. Exactly.
It's a very similar kind of dark body thing with a mask for a face.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And so we get our big climax. And again, not too much to explain here, other than the fact that Achika goes all badass.
Yeah.
And just all of those abilities suddenly come to her, and like you say, she grabs Nigata and goes, and we get, Tenchi zeroes in on her, and we get Sad Boy and Snow. We get the shot from Tenchi Universe of, and that's their connection. Right, is her death, which is a kind of an interesting little thing there.
Yeah.
And that is where they're able to come in, and help out. Whereupon Kane transforms, and again, I love this. It's one of those things where, again, this is the animation. He's this amorphous being, so he can be anything. So he turns into this sort of Night on Ball mountain beast creature.
Yeah.
And starts attacking them. And what does it take? It takes Achika, Achika in Rage is the name of the track in the soundtrack, where she's just like, nope, this is it. I'm taking you out. And is just vicious with it. Just hacking and slashing away at this thing before finally literally cutting it in half.
Yeah.
And it's
I like the way she gets serious. She takes her scrunchie off.
No.
Pulls that off, and then her hair comes down. It's just like, oh, Mama's about to open a can of whoop ass. Here we go.
Yep.
And she did.
Absolutely. And we'll get to that in a moment, too. And then, of course, they try to leave. Kane's not dead. No movie villain is ever actually dead. And so they have to fire the dimensional cannon at it to destroy it, which also makes it morning, I guess, which is very handy. But again, ridiculous sci-fi nonsense, awesome stuff. I wonder whose shirt that is that Achika's wearing. I don't know. I do like the fact that somebody got her a shirt, her clothes are all torn up. She needs something there.
random passerby with an extra shirt.
I guess.
Pardon me, miss. Need a shirt?
Yeah.
Here you are.
Go.
Yeah. And so, so we get our little denouement with everyone. And this is where I started to cry. Because, Achika doesn't live. This is the beginning of their story. And you get this wonderful moment where she goes, take care of him, you two. Like, what is it? I know I'm not going to be there, and he needs you.
Yeah.
And it's a beautiful, beautiful moment. And she has that line of we'll live the best we can with the time we have. That's what matters.
And I like the memory erase button too.
Yeah, it's very cool.
Because otherwise you'd think she would go off and be like, okay, why am I dying?
Mm-hmm.
How do I not die? That way I can have Tenchi, I can live with, everybody together and everything will be fine. It's like, nope, memory erase button, sorry.
Yep. And to that point, we find out in the ending monologue, this is probably what killed her.
Yeah.
She used up her power.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, the Jirai have a very long lifespan, and if you have no power, which comes from, the whole beating you in the head stick with Shinto, that Tenchi Muyo happens to do with you. So she loses that connection, and so, the Emperor, as they say in the beginning of the movie, the Emperor of Jirai, in capturing this guy, initially dies because of this,
He
so
expended so much
power, yeah. And so, she pretty much did the same thing, because remember, when King faces both of them on the tower, Tenchi and Achika, and they're both there, and he figures out, oh, you're the son, don't care about you, you're the one I want.
Yep.
She goes, and he goes after her because she's the one with the power.
And she's the one who's used the least of it.
Right.
She's been an ordinary girl up to this point.
And also, as the daughter of the Emperor, if you take her out at that age, you affect the entire line going forward. So you negate Tenchi entirely.
Yeah.
That's a quick decision looking at the two of them. Be like, you.
Yep.
Take the heir to the throne or take the daughter of the Emperor?
So you have to realize, yes, Tenchi could possibly die from the same thing as his mother. That said, mortality is an interesting thing in the Tenchi universe.
Yeah, especially since he's been cut in half.
Well, yeah.
Well, he's half human.
He's
So maybe that provides some robustness.
3/4 human, technically, I guess. Because
His mother wasn't full Jirai?
Yosho is full Jirai. His grandfather's full Jirai. His grandmother is full human.
Oh.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So that could affect it. The other thing, and this is getting deep in the weeds, Yosho has moved to Earth and will die. Like, he realizes that he is not immortal as a result of not being around the Jirai royal trees and so forth, and he's fine with that. He wants the normal passage of time for himself and his descendants. So, that branch of the family is not guaranteed to live for centuries or millennia.
Right.
Who knows? But then also, Tenchi's very, very special. Especially when you do the later OVAs. Tenchi's a very unique individual. So, but either way, we get our denouement with Achika and Tenchi a little bit as they're there, and then we transfer to the modern day and all of them. And we get
Where's this window? Is it the one that's at the top with
that
the
skylight
little shutter?
Yeah, and I believe if you watch the
up
OVA
in that?
if you watch the OVA TV series, he's in a room with a skylight coming down in
Okay.
his room, and I think that's the one. And so we get, again, kind of the classic Tenchi, gang's all here moment.
Yeah.
Now
let's get everybody in for the poster shot that we're going to be selling at the gift shop.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Exactly. Everyone's kind of in their classic pose. I don't think I can find a still image of it, but I do appreciate that Nobuyuki's got a Pioneer camera on it.
I feel like buying a Pioneer camera, by the way.
Yeah.
A Super 8?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pioneer is one of the big sponsors of Tenchi. They're
Yeah.
you know, so.
Yeah.
We get this in the final moment. And then the end credit sequence and the end credit song, which is in English, by the way.
Right.
Japanese or English, you will hear an English song because it was recorded in English. Possibly because of the composer.
Right. Tangerine Dream.
And we're not going to see that on here, unfortunately. So the composer is kind of an interesting thing in here.
Yep.
Steve, you want to take that away?
Well, I was going to talk about the singer, Nina Hagen. Nina Hagen,
Go for it.
but the composer, he did a lot of stuff. He did Babylon 5.
He sure did.
He did the music for Babylon 5. He did
Mm-hmm.
music for a lot of stuff. The male duet behind the female voice is from the band Tangerine Dream, which is a huge 60s, 70s band. And Nina Hagen, who delivered that I don't like the song. It's a horrible song. And the voice and the lyrics are, whatever. But Nina Hagen, for those of you who are old enough to remember 99 Luftballons, that was her. And this was done in 96. This would have been about the time that she lost her mind.
Oh.
And went from Nina Hagen model to Nina Hagen performance artist, drug user.
Ooh.
The last thing she's done was with KMFDM, industrial music. The new incarnation.
They're doing it again. Yeah.
Drug Against War. But yeah, the composer made is everywhere.
Yeah.
In the sci-fi between the 80s and the 90s, he's everywhere. You think of the series he's done something for.
Yeah. And they clearly got him for this movie.
For this,
right?
Yeah.
This was a star pull, and it's one of the things is it gives it a very distinct feel. It doesn't quite sound Japanese. Doesn't quite sound like traditional American symphonic music.
Right. Yeah.
It just has its own tone to it, which I think is really cool. And that's basically Tenchi Muyo in Love. It's a really sweet film. So now that you guys have watched it, what are your sort of overall thoughts on Tenchi and the whole lore and all that stuff?
Still lost.
Fair.
I like
fair,
it. I
fair.
like Tenchi Muyo. I like the characters. I enjoy the ride. But I am totally at sea with who in the heck anybody is. When I first saw the space world tree thing, I'm like, what?
Oh boy.
I'm like, how does it's got a it's like somebody's Japanese garden floating in space with a tree. I'm like, what's going on?
Which is it gets worse.
So I just enjoy the ride. I'm not asking a lot out of it.
That's wise.
For me, like I said, I saw the OVA and the 26th episode, Tenchi Universe. Separately, I think I saw Tenchi in Tokyo before I saw this.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Wow.
Did you see War on Geminar?
Parts of it. I didn't really make it through.
It was enjoyable, at least I thought.
I didn't make it all the way through. But with the World Tree kind of thing, that's where Tenchi Muyo just says, "Hi, this is about Shintoism." We're going to keep over and over and over with this.
Yeah.
Tree.
Not that that's a bad religion or anything. It's just that after a while you're just like, I get it. I get it. But what I liked about Tenchi Muyo in Love, even though the title is so not what you think. Okay,
well, and that is kind of the gag,
right?
Right.
And so, but what I really liked about it was that it is about his mother. That you never see in the Tenchi universe, you never see her anywhere else. I don't even think there's a picture of her.
I mean, you do see her briefly in OVA 1, I think. There's a shot of her looking back at Tenchi. She does show up in OVA 3 or 4, I think, though.
Okay.
But it's a different mother. He has a completely different mother in that timeline, so it's a different thing.
Okay.
Okay, I'm just not. These are questions I'm not going to ask.
But you really don't know anything. All you're stuck with is pervy dad ready to film his son's sexual conquest of Ryoko, and it's really, that's all you get. So to find out, that this is history, a prequel of what the Masaki family wound up being, how the house got to be, where it got to be, things like that. It's very informative, and it's a nice little break from if you're big into Tenchi, it's a nice little break from some of the stuff like the Sasami storyline. It's definitely a nice break from that. Even though Mahoshi is just...
Well, I saw something in Sasami where she tinkers with things.
Well, Sasami is... Oh god, how did it explain? Okay, it's Tenchi.
I mean, Sasami is very special.
It's very special. And she is... There's a very disturbing sequence in the OVA. Is it the OVA? Where she falls in her dream and she dies. In her dream.
I don't remember that one.
Okay,
it's how she becomes aware that she can... That she has power.
Oh, yeah. You don't see her, like, die, but you see that she has fallen into a place, and then, things happen to rectify that situation. But it's heavily implied, yeah.
Yeah, and you get a break from the Mahoshi Kione thing, even though you still feel bad for Kione, and you just want, someday Kione's just to hold Mahoshi's head under the water just long enough. And
just shake her. Why are you so dumb?
Why are you so... Well, actually, there's that in Tenchi Universe where there's like an alternative storyline where she like runs away from being a police person to get away from Mahoshi. She's out in this fishing village out in the middle of nowhere, and she's happy just serving crab soup. And then suddenly Mahoshi shows up, and she's just like, "Kill me now!" But it's a nice break to get away from all of that. And to focus on a new character who, even though she is a direct line descendant to the Emperor of Jirai, she's a normal human girl who has a crush on Nobuyuki.
Right? Yeah. And it should be pointed out, like, the whole point of the title is the fact that it's a harem series. Tenchi can never choose, right? And so Tenchi's in love. Ooh, he's choosing. We found out who he's gonna go. No. It's just his mom.
Yeah. Tenchi loves his mom, and he's gonna save her from getting killed.
Exactly.
And by extension, himself from not existing.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Kind of self-interested, wasn't it?
Yeah, a little bit. Come on, man. Come on, dude.
It's not a selfless Tenchi. It's a Tenchi very focused on the fact that he's going to disappear.
Very much.
Yeah.
But I thought it was interesting though that in Tenchi's mother's transformation sequence, they had to do the magic girl.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
They had to do the magic girl. I'm just glad it wasn't Sasami.
We'll just wait.
Yeah.
I mean, there's actually
Pretty Princess Sammy.
I don't think
Sammy?
I don't think there's a transformation scene, but I don't think she's nude. She is in the OVA, I think, but I don't think in the TV series. I don't remember. I'll have to find out. So Captain Laser Eyes, technically yes, which we'll be talking about later, probably. There is one Tenchi storyline in which it is clear who Tenchi should belong with. But again, it's Tenchi, and there are a bazillion different timelines, so whatever.
It's the little funky nya cat creature.
It's Ryuoki, definitely. It's absolutely Ryuoki. By the way, did anyone else notice?
I choose you. Now let's go get some cat food.
And also, when Sasami was on the bus, Ryuoki was there as a charm on her backpack. Yeah. That was cute.
That was actually that was creepy. It was like this is the stuffed thing that I killed out in the woods. Yeah. I couldn't back Totoro, but I could get this cabin thing.
Yeah.
Cabin.
Yeah, the cabin. That's right. It's a cabin.
Cabin.
Tenchi's weird. It is a really weird franchise, but a lot of fun.
Yes.
And that is kind of the point. It's a wild ride. And like you're saying, John, I think it's one of those things you just let it flow over you.
Yeah.
Appreciate it much you
Yeah.
can.
But I mean, ultimately, in the end, it's a harem anime.
Mhm.
Yes.
So you're absolutely right. 99.99% of the time, you don't continue a storyline if somebody chooses somebody. So you have that close brush with one character. Well, nope. And then you move on, and it happens again and again. And you gotta just let it go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Not looking for Shakespeare out of my hair. Come on.
Well, just wait. There are definitely some Shakespearean moments later on at Tenchi.
Yes.
Ow, damn spot.
Will you get to actually Magical Project S? The Pretty Samey TV series has some dark moments, surprisingly. But yes, that is Tenchi My Own Love. Hope you guys enjoyed that. We're gonna take a quick break and come back in a few minutes to talk about the upcoming anime of the season. We're gonna go through some of the anime that we will see this season, and we're gonna share some of our picks, some things that interest us.
Another
And,
50 animes for me to watch.
I'm gonna go blind in my left eye.
Oh, God.
So we'll be back shortly.